right now at your age, your sole job is to make as much money as you can before you come over the top of the bell curve.
Message.
No.
So make sure you don't get capped where you are. And so when I took that role, I wrote my own job description. And I named it, I stayed at the VP level and I called it the head of diversity, equity, and belonging. And a lot of my friends were like, yo, why didn't you just make yourself the chief diversity officer? This was 2018. And I was like, well, if I did, I would have been a chief capped at a VP salary. And then the whole world fell apart in 2020. And by then I had 2 years of receipts of the great work that the numbers you read all 33% to 59%. That was during that 2-year period before George Floyd was murdered, right? So by then I had all the receipts I needed, and they were like, so if you were to actually look it up, it would say like UM elevates Jeff Marshall, the CEO, and you might think, oh, this is a 2020 response, and it's not. It's that I was in that role for 2 years and did a lot of work, and they were like, we're not gonna let anybody steal it. So that's kind of how I actually ascended to a true C-level.
That's hard to sell into. How do you sell that into a CEO? So you're saying you went to the CEO. How do you actually sell that? Because you don't know at the time. I don't know if you have the data for 33% to 59%, but how do you sell that this is going to be a revenue generating opportunity? How did
So here's the thing. I didn't have to sell that part in here because here's the thing. Yeah, well, so we were already doing work as a council, and the CEO, that new CEO, was already involved in that. And in fact, she had, before she became, Kasha had left. In fact, my coffee with Kasha, she left not long after that for another role, another CEO role somewhere else. And the new CEO was already involved, kind of, and she was an executive sponsor of our council. So she already knew, but we knew the business imperative. Like the Coca-Cola and Anheuser-Busch. These are companies that they call themselves total beverage companies. So their consumer is literally everybody. So we know, we knew, like you want nuance in what you're saying to people, you need nuance on the team. So we understood the business imperative. Like we can't, like you can't just slap, Spanish on any ad that has some Hispanic people in it and not realize that there are different dialects within that, right? And then just put it doesn't work that way. So we knew the value. Like we knew that company knew the value, that CEO knew the value. And really what was happening was we were trying to do things while everybody was double hatting, right? So we were trying to do things as a council, but we all had a full-time job in a client-served business. So what do you think takes priority when one is up against the other? The client. And so that's what I went with. I was like, everything we want to do, we don't get it all done. And when we don't get it all done, we're very gracious to ourselves. We go, we'll get them next time, team. And so I took that information in and was like, we need to go hire somebody. But if you're going to look inside, what I don't want to see is you hire somebody internally. If you're going to look inside, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. And by then they had already heard strategies and thoughts from me. They knew I had a passion for it. And so that's that was the sell.
Gotta listen to him. You can learn something.
I need better sound effects on my show, yo.
Gotta listen to him. Okay, my friend.
Gotta listen to him. He's smart. One of the things that we talk about, Jeff, and I'm glad that you actually brought this up. You said, hey man, I didn't get here. Step one, I did this, I did this, I did this, and you changed. One of the things that we talk about emphatically on this show is when to change, when to be at an agency or a job, whatever you want to call it, a career, and realize I've reached my limit or this is not for me, and decide to pivot. What was that like for you in each of your situations where you were like, yeah, I might be making a couple dollars, I might be good, but ultimately this is not where I want to be, or it's not going to give me the opportunity to get there, and then you go ahead and make the pivot?
I mean, a couple things happened that made me realize that. One was like, there's levels, right? And what I learned, like I remember when I first got in the career, I was like, oh, I can't wait till I make $100,000. And then I got to $100,000 and was like, what? and so you realize like, oh, there's always levels. So you advance as far as you want to advance, as far as that drives you. The other thing I realized was I love learning things. I'm just one of those people who's always curious. So for me, the pivot is just an opportunity to learn something. And when I had the cleaning service, one of the things I learned, I wrote a little post on LinkedIn about this, but I used the line from Jay-Z where he says, you know, I guess we forgot what we came for. He's referencing Sam Rothstein, right?
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, when I go into a place, I don't ever want to forget what I came for, right? Like whatever job you have, make sure that you give what you need to give to the job, but get something from it. Get a new skill, get some new experience, get new contacts, new network, something. So now I go into those spaces and go, I got to get something out of this, right? If I'm going to put my mental capital into the thing, I got to make sure I'm going to get something as well. And so, so for me, and the other thing is, I realized pretty quickly, like the corporate ladder is less of a ladder and more like a winding mountain road, right? It's never straight. You like sometimes it's going to take you over here, it's going to take you over there, but get what you came for. Get something that you can add on to what you already have, and you can say, oh, you know, I learned how to do that. Method. That's kind of, you know, how I think about it. In fact, I tell people all the time, I don't see myself right now. I don't see myself as a DEI leader. I'm a strategist. Like whatever, and I could do strategy in any place, right? Like as a CEO, I could do like whatever problem you put in front of me. What I've learned is how to think about that problem. You know, think about, you know, the pros and cons, and then apply, you know, a strategic approach to get through the problem. So yeah. So for me, pivoting, you know, is kind of, I think it's you know, if you're a learner, it's necessary for growth, right? Change is necessary for growth.
Method. Man, I got another one.
Nah, I like it because, you know, Cuzzo, we talk about that all the time, man.
Right.
The battle, Jeff, the battle, right, between wanting to do a thing and the financial responsibility of what you already have going at that level, right? Oftentimes, financial responsibilities can outweigh ambition, can outweigh our aspirations, and like that fear of, if I let this go and I don't get that, where do I end up then? You know what I mean? So it's very important for our listeners to hear stories like yours that say, listen, man, like our motto, Jeff, on a lot of our merch, and you know, one of our mottos is bet on yourself.
For sure.
It's on our t-shirts, it's on our sweaters. Like you got to bet on yourself. It has to be a certain point of time where you're like, I'm putting the faith in the things that I've learned and my experiences and where I am now. And this is my value. If you never draw that line to understand where your value is, you know, your progression is going to be cut extremely short.
Absolutely. Yeah. You also said something crazy that